community workshop series, Understanding Disability in Alberta, put on in partnership with the Gateway Association. My name is Erin Northey, and I am the Provincial Supports Coordinator within the Children and Family Services Department at the Métis Nation of Alberta. I coordinate our community information sessions and currently assisting in the development of a program within the department. I will be helping to guide the session today. Also on the call with us, we have Kate Dawson, our department's communications coordinator, who will be monitoring the chat. And just bear with me for one moment here. So we'd like you just to note that we will be recording the event to share it with those who registered but who may not be able to attend this evening. And it may also be posted on our website or within any other M&A materials. If you do not wish to be recorded, please turn off your camera and inform us in the chat now. We are very excited to be able to host this event and looking forward to answering your questions. Before we get started, I just have a couple of housekeeping items for us to go over. You have been muted by default to make sure everyone can hear the presenter. You may show your video or turn it off as you wish. If you have a question, please type it in the chat. You will see this at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you would like to ask a question out loud, please click the raise hand button and the moderator, Kate or myself, will reach out to you privately to unmute you. We will have lots of time at the end for questions, and we will do our best to get through as many as possible before our time together is through. We ask that everybody to please keep your questions respectful. We recognize that we're talking about some potentially sensitive topics today. We want you to make sure that you know that there are resources available to you if you feel like you would like to talk to someone or need that support. Here are a few options for receiving help if you need it. So we do have the Office of the Advocate for Disabilities here with a toll-free direct line and email. And we also have the Alberta Mental Health Helpline as well, and the Crisis Services of Canada. And of course, as always, if you feel you're in immediate danger, please call 911. And we also have a program for M&A citizens who can access counseling through the M&A Wellness Program. And that number is listed on the screen as well. And I believe that's up to 12 hours of counseling services. I'll just leave that up just for one more moment to make sure everyone has that information should you need that. And please let us know if you do need any of those numbers in the chat. Now, I'm excited to introduce our presenter for today, Katie Suvanto. Katie is the Indigenous Relations and at the Gateway Association. Sorry, my apologies. She is the Indigenous Relations Manager at the Gateway Association. Sorry about that. She has several years of professional and personal experience working within the disability support system in Alberta. Katie has worked with the M&A in the past, and we're excited to have her back again to present for us tonight. So thank you for joining us today, Katie. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so Katie can start her presentation.
Some of you I recognize from being at the M&A, so it's nice to see you again. And so my name is Katie Cevanto, and I'm the Community Development and Indigenous Relations Manager at Gateway Association. But I'm also a mother to a son with a disability. So over the last 2 years, I've heard from parents, caregivers, and met many people who have found themselves lost in the diagnosis and looking for resources. So a gateway, we're a family and employment resource center, and we provide educational support, family mentorship, and inclusive employment. So it's our mission to assist the community to understand the disabilities. My passion lies with our people. So I'm here today to help our people navigate through the system. I'm not perfect at it, but I did identify some gaps. And so by identifying the gaps, I've put them together to help others who are like me, who have a child or somebody in their life that has a disability and is having a very hard time navigating through it. So you're here today because you want to understand disability in Alberta. What does it mean? The disability services that are available for your child or your adult that you care for. What is Fscd? What is AISH? What is PDD? Do you qualify for them? And are there other additional government resources that you could take advantage of? So I'm going to try to share my screen. And what's really cool is that if everybody could just give me a thumbs up, and I can see that you can see it. And I see some thumbs, so I'm excited. And here we go, our community action plan. So, disability supports in Alberta. I always like to ensure that we start off with a land recognition, only because so many of us don't get to hear it as much anymore. Spanning generations, acknowledgement of the land is a traditional custom of the Indigenous people and Metis when welcoming outsiders onto their land and into their homes. To build respectful relationships, acknowledging the land is an important part of reconciliation. It honors the authentic history of North America, its original people, and it tells the story of the creation of the country that has historically been missing. So some of you, I'd like to see some thumbs. I think it would be fun. Who's from Region 1? Thumbs up if you are. Region 2. Region 3. Hi, Victoria. Awesome. Region 4. Nice. 5. And 6. Great. So we have, you guys are going to be knowledge keepers today. So what I say by that is the information that you're going to be getting, I hope you share with others in your region. So a little bit of information is, once this presentation is over, you're going to get a link that has all of this in it, along with links and abbreviations and all of these great things to help you sort through this sector. And then if you still need assistance, we're here to help you. So welcome. I'm going to share with you a video that I was really excited to work with my team on, because when you're coming into something, we all know our Métis history, we all know where things start. And I think it's important for you to understand where Gateway started, because their determination is why a lot of our kids are in schools today, kids that have disabilities. So I'm going to start the video. Again, I'm going to ask you, if you can hear it okay, I need a thumbs up. That's it.
You're good. I can hear it. This is Erin.
1980. That'd be possible. 1980.
Since 2010. Our problems began in 2010. So between 2010 and 2012, Gateway was a very important part of my life.
1986 that I first had a meeting. So from 1980 to 1995. 70, it would be 76. 76. Yeah. The difficult part is fighting for the same things that the other two daughters get automatically that he didn't get.
The public didn't think at that time it was their moral obligation, but the separate school board was the first group. And they sat there and they said that it's a moral obligation that they fund everybody. They couldn't separate. So at that point, that was the toeholds that Gateway had in the education system.
I got to some of the meetings that we had at the school and discovered that I wasn't alone in feeling this way, but there were a number of parents that were beginning to feel, you know, they were questioning why we had to go offering school. So that group of parents got together and started talking about what we should do. And when we first approached them, they told us that we would have more power if we became an entity rather than just a group of parents. That's what got us started in saying we need to form an association. And we formed a society. Gateway kept evolving. And you know, as it's evolved again, it's something very different than it was when we started.
So there are 4 primary ways that we support families that have a child living with an intellectual disability. So that's around future planning, advocacy, mentorship, and education.
I think there was some sense of redefining their role clarity around local supports and family support versus systemic advocacy. And so, you know, that was another shift, I think, of clarity that I think was positive for Gateway to do. So really building that family support piece, and then now looking more around employment and doing some real intentional work in employment, which is so exciting.
Gateway provides a lot of different services to job seekers and employers through our employment program. A lot of time and research is spent learning about the job seekers, learning about careers and different positions, so that we can find the best fit for job seekers and employers. We base it on skills and abilities and interests, personalities, you know, special circumstances, and a lot of other factors, including finding those best match employers. We offer supports to help job seekers build confidence and leadership skills. We teach people how to job search and to best work with Gateway in this process, interview and communication and problem solving skills, and the list goes on depending on their needs. There's a trickle effect that happens when people get employed. They finally start to feel or to see what it feels like to belong. They feel valued, they find their voice, they make friends, start doing the things that most of us take for granted.
I'm shy. I'm not often very I'm very nervous a lot of the time. The big thing for me is anxiety. Anxiety for me is a big problem when it comes to job seeking and job finding, because I'm self-conscious enough to know my flaws and my problems and the stuff that bars me from moving into the working world. After having spent some time at Gateway Association in a volunteer position, where I was able to get some meaningful experience with people as part of a team, I was able to, on my own, with the support of Gateway backing me up, find a position, apply to it, do an interview, and even though initially they had some concerns, Gateway was there to provide answers, support, and knowledge to them, such that they would be able to better understand me, and then end up with me being hired in a professional capacity at their company.
I think it's really important for us to understand the history of disability in Alberta. So I got to work on a few projects with this, but at the end of the day, I love the idea that there's a place where my son can be and go from diagnosis to understanding and working through the system to creating a vision and a plan, and then potentially finding a job. That is Connor, and Connor was able to get like a job that he really loved, and I think it was in coding or something, something that he was very passionate about. And the first thing he said to me when I saw him again after him getting his new employment, he said, I paid for my very own vacation with my family, and I paid for everything all by myself. And I have a son with autism, ADHD, fine motor tics, and a severe learning disability. If I get that same response from my son in 10 to 15 years, I'm going to be really one happy mom. So I just was really excited to see that, and I was excited to hear Connor's success. The one thing most of us have in common here today is disability. It's complicated. Not only do you have the reality of the diagnosis and its complexities, we also have the task of paperwork and information that might be overwhelming to so many. Through these workshops, we hope to help break down the process and make the overwhelming task of forms manageable, to help you understand the process and how to work with them. So Gateway, the vision that we have is that the world where we're all valued, all of us, doesn't matter our race or where we're from. We want to be an influencer and a global leader, but we want you to know that there is so much ability in disability. And every time I look at my little guy, who might interrupt us, by the way, so I'm just going to give you a full caveat. He just might walk in. He might not understand that he has to wait, but he's got so many great skill sets already at 7 years old. He's got 2 older siblings that are in university, and I expect nothing less out of him. Whether it's trades or university, I can't wait. I can't wait to see the vision and the goals that we come up with. So we identified some gaps in the systems, and today we're here to help give you a brief summary of all of those gaps, and then to let you know that the team at the Métis Nation and myself and our team at Gateway are here to help you identify it and go through it wherever we're going to meet you at where you are today. One thing we all know is the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and that we all know that we're individuals, regardless of without discrimination, based on race, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, sex, age, mental or physical disability. And I really want everybody to remember that you are written in the Charter of Rights. Aside from our Métis rights and all of the other political things for that, you are part of this charter and you have rights. So every time you go into something, instead of being scared about it, remember that you belong with it. It was written in our charter. So the question we're going to have today is, do you have a diagnosis? Yes or no? Why is this important? Because without a diagnosis, you're not going to be able to get supports to help you and your loved one. We're going to go through what some of those supports are after, but it's really important for us to make sure that we have that diagnosis from that physician. Have you talked to your physician, or do you have a physician? Again, it's really important to make sure that you do, or that you are seeing somebody that can help you through this process. And the third thing is, are you happy? Because if you're not happy, you have the right to a second opinion. I have met so many parents who have said that they've seen a doctor regarding their child or the adult that they care for, and nobody's taking them seriously. If you have a hunch, you go for it. So if you have a hunch on the disability or whatever is happening, don't rely on the one person that's saying no. If you get 2 or 3 people saying no, then you know what? We have to go back and revisit it. But it's okay to get a second opinion. So with a diagnosis for those under 18, you can apply for the following supports. Families who are eligible for family support for children with disabilities, which we refer to as Fscd. They may receive information about government programs and services, community supports and local resources, help coordinating and getting supports and services, help with clothing or footwear that relates to your child's disability, counseling, help with some of the costs to take your child to medical appointments such as parking, mileage, meals, accommodation, and sibling care. Respite services for in or outside of your home to give you a temporary break. Help from aides who provide personal care, community, behavioral, or developmental support. Temporary living arrangements for your child away from home. Help with some costs for medications, prescribed diets, ambulance or medical supplies. Specialized services for children with severe disabilities. The same FSCD worker assigned to a family with more than one child. So if you have many children in your home that have different disabilities or the same, you get that one worker, so you don't have to deal with tons. So I'm going to share with you what I get. For my son, I have supports, specialized services of a team of 5. That's OT, speech, language, behavioral. I have a client care individual, and I have somebody that comes to my home once a week and walks through ways to help him with his emotional regulation. I have Respite Care. Respite Care is something that they give you a set amount of hours for a year with a set allowance, and you can pay somebody to watch your child well. I don't know how many of you have a child with autism, but trying to go grocery shopping is a very difficult task. So you can use your respite hours for that. Community aid support we have. So that allows, I mean, during COVID right now, we can't really utilize it, but we can in some ways. But community aid support is somebody who can take your child to the park, go sledding. I'm sorry, but I don't sled. And I have a very rambunctious 7-year-old. So if I can pay somebody to take him sledding and who enjoys it and who isn't going to break their legs while they're doing it, I'm very happy to do that. And I'm so grateful that they give me the opportunity for that. The other one is 24-hour care. I get 10 days a year. And why is that important for me? Because I need a break. I have never until recently understood what it meant to take time to collect your thoughts and to go through this process, because it's 24/7. Having a child or a loved one with a disability, it never ends. So it's really important to get that. I have a child who walks on his toes. So we bought another brand new pair of shoes today. Sometimes we go through a pair of shoes a month. So I get a clothing allowance that will help. It's not huge, but it's something, because when you're constantly buying shoes, it adds up really, really quickly. Prescribed diets are a lot for some people that have children who will only drink Pediasure or Ensure or something like that, and it's prescribed to them. They help with that. And medical. So my son is on a drug that costs, at the beginning it costed like $220 a month, but as he grows, it gets more expensive. The tough part about that aspect is we didn't have benefits at the time, and Alberta benefits didn't cover it. And we, like Métis, we don't, Métis people don't get medication for free. So what do? So FSCD will get you to exhaust all of these resources, but eventually they'll help pay for it. So that's incredible, because we have met, and I've talked to so many parents that are able to just have this medication that they know is going to make an impact to their child, because it's too expensive, and that's not right. So government and local supports and resources, well, they connected me. They didn't connect me, but they said, here's a list, go through it and pick one. And I did. And I picked an agency who loves my child. And I know that because they started working with him since the age of, I think he was 1 year or 2 years old. And they're still working with him today. And they send birthday cards, and they bring special things, and they create little books to teach him how far he's come. They taught him how to potty train. They, because we just couldn't do it. I think, like, you know, having 2 older children myself that are in university, I thought, I got this. I don't have it. It's a whole different story when it comes to a child with a disability. And it's learning how to talk. So he was nonverbal, and today he doesn't stop talking now. And for the first time a few weeks ago, and I'm not going to get emotional about it, but I might, he read a book. And he read a book, it's classified as A or B in school terms. And he's supposed to be at a GRF, but you know what? I don't care, because he read. It might be 3 words in a row, but he's doing that now. And he's doing it because we had early intervention and supports through these agencies. So I would encourage you to use them, because early intervention, as we know for our kids, is going to go far. And then transitions. So some of you, depending on where you're at, you might have children who are transitioning. And what that means is they'll be leaving Fscd and moving forward into adulthood. So we'll get into that. But it also covers things like return home from hospital for those that are in care all the time for surgeries. It's starting a new school program. And like I said, for transition, the approaching the age of 16 and planning for adulthood. There are Fscd supports across Alberta. So the reason why I asked you what region you're from is because in the handouts you're going to get, and if you have a hard time navigating through it, please always reach out to us because we can help. But each of your regions will have an Fscd office, and they can provide you with the same reports, the same services. And now you know what you're entitled to. And I use the word entitled to because it's built into our provincial thing. And you know what, your baby or your child or your adult, everybody deserves that access. It's built for that. So if you need to access it, now you're going to have a list of everything that you can access it for. Fscd will require medical letters and assessments confirming the individual child's diagnosis. Fscd considers each and every individual application for eligibility based on chronic disabling diagnosis first. Then they'll determine eligibility for benefits, distinctly based on disability, by assessing the family's extraordinary needs that cannot be met by other resources. So those are for people that have like crazy, amazing benefits. And if you've exhausted all those benefits, and if you've exhausted everything that you can in your community, that's when they get to step in. It sounds really overwhelming, but at the end of the day, I'm a single mom. And I'm going to tell you, I have nothing. My family doesn't live here. And, you know, I really had nothing. And so when it can be really intimidating when somebody from the government comes into your home and is assessing your home and your needs. But then I remember this wasn't about my fear. This was about my child. And so I put him first, aside from everything that I was afraid of, because we don't have a great history with the government, do we? So at the end of the day, you know, it was intimidating, but I had a good friend with me who sat with me, and I would encourage you to do the same. Get somebody there to support you, because I don't know if anybody's gone into the hospital with a loved one and during something traumatic and completely forgot everything that the doctor said because you were in the moment, right? This is the same thing. This is a really big deal. Have somebody there to be on your side and take notes, because I'm going to tell you, if it wasn't for my dear friend that was there that day, I wouldn't have remembered a thing, because I was so emotional about what was going on. FSC legislation dictates that all other options for the requested support must be exhausted. Resources that meet those needs may include children's home care, early intervention, education, etc. Their process helps them access whether or not there are unmet needs that may be provided with the FSCD supports. If your child is eligible for the program, an FSCD worker will meet with you after you apply to discuss your child's specific needs, the impact your child's disability has on your family, community programs or other supports, including family or friends that may be helpful, other professionals the worker may speak with to understand your child's needs. So the agency that I chose to work with wrote this amazing report on everything they've learned about my son and provided it to FSCD, which was quite helpful to them. FSCD will create an individual family support plan. After the needs assessments, your worker will work with you to create this. It is based on sharing and understanding of your child and family strengths, needs, and priorities. in short and long-term goals for your child's development and participation at home, school, and in the community. FSCD doesn't focus a lot on school because school has its separate supports, but we'll talk about that in a bit. The strategies and supports and services, individual responsibilities and timelines to meet the goals. Disability for our kids. You get home support. And then if your child has a diagnosis, you get school support and you get coding, which might sound really amazing. But at the end of the day, the school gets to determine how that coding and how that funding is used. But if you have a loud advocacy heart and your child, then you continue to push for them to have the supports that they require in school. So everybody's child, if you have a disability, if your child has a disability and you're here, how many of you have utilized the school and the special needs program that they have to put their child back in school while this lockdown's happening? Thumbs up if you have. Okay. It doesn't necessarily say you don't have a child. Do any of you have a child under the age of 18 in the educational system right now? Thumbs up. No. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting a few there in the chat saying yes, they do.
Oh, thanks. I haven't even looked at the chat.
That's okay.
You.
We're monitoring that for you.
You guys are doing amazing.
Yeah, we do have some people here saying that they do have kids that are under 18 in the school system. Yes,
right.
yes, and still waiting for coding, etc.
Okay. Well, with your diagnosis, you can get coding right away. So, and we can, your team at the M&A, I'm not putting it all on them, but I'm saying they can assist you and I can assist you through that. So I have a son, as you know, and he's in a school of 1,100 children, and there's 3 that are there right now this week. And you know what that means? That means that he's just getting the support that he deserves. And it means that he's actually catching up. He actually is getting the one-on-one support that is encouraging him to read and telling me what 40 plus 40 means, and then what 80 plus 80 means, and then on and on and on. Loves numbers, and he's excited about learning, and he has the whole gym to himself. So I'm going to tell you that with that coding, utilize those supports because your child deserves that. So by working with having supports at home, that can help support the school support that you're getting. They don't like getting it from outside supports, but they need it. Your child is going to grow. Your individual is going to have an amazing opportunity at a meaningful life. And that's something that we want. Maybe some of us didn't get that, but they deserve that. We all deserve it. So your FSCD worker is available throughout the year to discuss changing or ongoing needs. Example, I have to phone mine or email mine to tell her I've moved. And I have to phone and tell her that we're having a hard time accessing summer camps, obviously due to COVID. But, and I have some, as he's growing, his feet are getting bigger, and he's, I'm going to see if I can get more of a clothing allowance just because I can ask, and I don't mind doing that. So at least once a year, you and your worker will connect for a regular review to determine your child's ongoing eligibility for the program. You're going to discuss your child and family situation and needs, and then update your individual family support plan, set up by a new FSCD agreement for services and your updated plan. So tips when accessing FSCD, if you haven't done it yet, call right away. It takes a while. And I'm going to tell you again, if you're having a hard time connecting with your worker, go above them, because my worker will respond to me within 3 days at a minimum. And I know families who are not getting responses as quickly as they like. But I do know that there are some really great FSCD workers there, and they want our kids to succeed. So I need you to advocate, not even advocate, but educate yourselves with what you deserve and what your child deserves. There's an Fscd policy online that you'll get a link to in your packages that you get after this call. But I encourage you to read over it and understand what it means. It might mean that you have to go up and do a review every 6 months, but that's for your child. And if I had to do it every month, I would complain about it, but I would do it because it's not for me, it's for him. And it's hard. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, honestly, is navigating this system. So I hope some of the tips that we go through today this evening are going to help you and set you up for success when you do require it. So next slide. Core principles of transition planning. So does everybody know what transition planning is? Thumbs up if you do, if you've heard the term. Okay.
We're getting some no head shakes.
I see that.
Yeah.
Some do and some don't. Transition planning means our little ones are growing into an adult and they're going to be entering adulthood. So there's that transition period that we need to set them up for. So at the end of the day, we are utilizing these amazing services that you get with Fscd. And then you get to become an adult. And it's not so cushy anymore. And there's different avenues that you have to go through. So we're going to be looking at life transitions, valued roles, vision and planning for adulthood. Preparation for transition starts early in childhood with healthcare team and encouraging families to be informed participants of their children's care. The child should be given increasing levels of responsibility and information as they enter adolescence. Knowledge of community services is important. Although it may be tempting to leave teens with cognitive disabilities out of transition programs, their risks are perhaps even higher than other young people with special needs. And thus, they should be included in a way that's meaningful for them. Victoria, has your hand? Oh, okay. I thought your hand was raised for a question. So it's important for us to set up a life plan. So the reason why we're doing it this way is because when you see your child with a disability and you're going through these services, you're going to know that there's this next step. And you're going to know that there's a next step. Because when my son was diagnosed, I had no idea. I was treading water. And I had no idea what that meant. And I'm going to tell you right now, it scares me to death that I don't know what happens if something happens to me and I haven't made a plan for him. Where does he go? I don't know. But now I have a plan. And I have to make that plan. And I have to constantly upgrade that plan. But I know that there's something that's out there. And I hope that this gives you a peace of mind. Because then you see that there are steps to help us navigate through this crazy, crazy thing called disability services. So this is part 2. This is when we talk about those that are 18. And we talk about the community, we talk about the life skills, the goals and expectations, the guardianship and trusteeship, and planning. So what's so great about the Métis community is that we are a village. And what I love about that is this community will come together and assist everyone. And I remember when we were out there and I was sitting in a room at the head office and we were looking at the center that's now at Smoky Lake. And we were looking at the trapper tents that are out there. And then I remember the first groups that went through there. And I thought, what a beautiful thing. So all these people are coming together. And I remember the first Indigenous days out there, which happens to be my birthday. But I remember, wow, this is so amazing. But what I do love is I remember when my son, who feared everything in life, jumped on that stage to jig. And He had never done it before, but he wasn't scared of anybody that was there. And instead of people like laughing at him or whatever, people were cheering him on. And that's what our community is. So I hope that after today and learning some of this stuff, you again are become those knowledge keepers and cheer others on. And I want you to know that their team at the M&A and I are here to cheer you on through this process.
Katie, I'm just going to lightly interrupt here. I think we just had someone raise their hand to ask a question, and then we also have one in the chat. So if you don't mind, would it be okay to unmute for Victoria here? Victoria Norris, and maybe Kate, if you're on the other end there, if we can, there we go. Victoria, you should be unmuted if you have a question, go ahead.
Actually, sorry, no, I just had a comment actually regarding back in getting ready for transition. My daughter is in her mid-30s now, and I went through that whole process. And my recommendation for parents, especially for of young children, is to make sure you collect all those documentations, file them, because you will need them during transition. We were scrambling to get everything together. And one of the things I used to say jokingly, but actually it's the truth, is that if you're going to have a child with a disability, I recommend you get a law degree first. But unfortunately, I didn't do that, and most parents don't do that either. But no, you're giving really great information, but I'm just wondering, I understand what Fscd and all those acronyms mean, but I'm wondering if some of our newer parents are lost with all the acronyms, and I'm wondering if you could just say them all together a time or two so that we remember what they mean.
So Victoria, the great thing about this is on the handouts, there is a whole list of acronyms and it's broken down with what it means. So I put all of those together along with diagnosis, the short forms.
Yeah.
So I put that in there. So with each slide, I'm hoping that when I say H or FSCD, I've put in brackets what that means beside it.
Okay.
Okay. And good point, Victoria, because what the best advice that I got was create a binder for each year. I've created a binder for each year for my son. Assessments, doctor's appointments, the little write-ups that I got from his care team, I print them off and I put them in the binder. Because when we get there, I'll have 18 volumes and 18, but you know what I started doing is, because let's have a really honest conversation. We have to show their disability.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you're always focusing on the bad stuff. So in the front of the binders, I've been putting all of his art and all of his love stuff and everything to remind me of all of the great things that he's done. He's not defined by his disability.
Absolutely, right.
And so thanks for bringing that up, because that's a great piece of information. And I'll share with you that there are a ton of different resources and there were a ton of different navigating aspects that you can go through. But parent knowledge is the best. So Victoria, again, thank you for bringing that up. And if you do have a child with a disability, start your binders, because she's right. You're going to need them after.
And everything from the schools, the classes that he qualified for, and whatever processes that you had to go through to get him into those classes. Make sure you save all that information as well.
And if you get coding for your child, you fight for it. And I don't mean fight.
Does everybody know what coded means?
So it's so when you get a diagnosis, depending on the diagnosis, because there's so many, but the coding, I don't go into that because that's the school side. And the school side, depending on public or private or whatever it might be, those are all going to change all the time. So, and I know that they've done another shift. I didn't know what it looks like, but I don't work in the school system, Victoria, so I leave that part out. But I would encourage you to reach out to your school to see if your child qualifies for coding, and that coding will get you specialized services in the school. That coding will help you with an educational assistant, behavior, whatever else it might be. Okay. So thanks, Victoria.
You're welcome.
Kate, was there another question?
Yeah, I just one from further up. I think we had someone ask about if there's any information covered today if an adult becomes disabled, but then also a comment that this information is great.
Okay, thank you. I love hearing. I got muted, you guys. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you did. My apologies. I accidentally muted you instead of myself, so I apologize for that.
Don't apologize. It's fun. It's okay. We are going to go into AISH and PDD. So the next part is going to help you, and hopefully it'll give you a very brief overview. But in the handout again, you're going to get a whole bunch of information, and I encourage you to go through that. Does that help?
Yes, yes. And the last thing here in the chat that we'll clarify before we move forward is coding IPP. So we have some chat happening that they're two separate things, but Katie, if you can comment on what an IPP is, and then we can move forward.
So there's an ISP and an IPP, and again, that's through the schooling system. And I didn't go over schooling system because I am not, and I'll be really honest with you, I can get you the information and we can send it out. But because my child is just new in the coding system and we're going through our IPPs, these plans are set out. It would just be like if you had agency care. But the school, so like your IFP through Fscd, you're going to have a goal plan that's set up by those individuals and teachers at the school who support your son or your daughter. And what they do is that they'll put together goals. There'll be behavior goals and there'll be like educational goals. And so an IPP is set out to ensure that the teacher, the staff that are supporting your son and you as a family and him or her can work towards the end of the year. It might just be sitting in their chair, depending on what that looks like. But our IPP goal, what we did was we actually used, we got a psycho-ed assessment, because one of the feedback that I got back from the teacher was that he just doesn't want to sit and to, he's not interested in learning. And I had to, it was kind of, because then I thought to myself, and in conversations with others, I thought, is it that he's not interested, or is it that he doesn't understand? And that was a defining moment, because then we looked at it a little bit differently. So it wasn't the fact that maybe he was just hyper, maybe he just wasn't interested, or he was disinterested in education. Maybe he didn't understand. So we had this psycho-ed assessment done, and it is complex and it is hard to navigate through. But, and if you do it through the school, it could take a lot of time, but ask for it. Because if you're struggling and your person is struggling, it might be because they have a learning disability, and that changes everything. So then they get to put this in this plan, and those are the goals that you're meeting. And if those goals aren't being met, then we have to go and revisit everything that's happening, because maybe where they're sitting isn't working. Maybe the class is too big. Maybe they need that one-on-one assistant from an EA. It helps you as a parent, and it helps the school put together a plan. And that's all I know about that right now. But I will promise you that I'll get some more information on it. We have a question from Lynn, maybe?
Oh, hi. It was just more of a comment about coding and the psychoed assessment. So I just wanted to say that in the beginning of our school year, the teachers did put an IPP together and they had their own coding. And then it was recommended that I try to get a psychoed assessment. And it's true, it takes forever to get if you try to get it through the school. We ended up getting it, we paid for it ourselves, and I'm glad that we did, because once we got that assessment, we're able to give it to the school and our coding completely changed. And that helped us a lot.
It did, yeah. And if you want to let other parents know, how much did that assessment cost you?
I think it was close to 1,200, something like that.
There is a great need for funding in our disability sector. And there's a great need for us to come together as a community, because without that coding, they would be left behind. And no child, nobody should be left behind. So I'm going to tell you, he's in grade 1, and I am so glad I got that. And if I have to try to advocate for it every few years, because his brain's going to change. You know, he's going to mature, he's going to get older. But it's going to help us plan to ensure that everything that's being taught to him is being taught to him in a way that works. So are we good for questions?
We do have a few more coming in, but I think just in interest of getting through the presentation, we've tracked these questions that are coming in the chat, and we'll speak to them at the end portion, so you can go ahead.
Perfect.
Thanks.
All right, thanks guys. So we're gonna try to get through this next part. I won't go too quickly, but I am watching the time. So ACE is assured income for the severely handicapped. Your age and criteria is you're at least 18 years old and not eligible to receive an old age security pension. You live in Alberta, you're a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, and you're not in a correctional facility or some mental health facility such as Alberta Hospital. Sometimes I think they need to upgrade some of their language. You must have a medical condition that is likely to remain permanent. Your medical condition must be the main factor limiting your ability to earn a living, not other factors such as your educational level. That's required for PDD. ACE looks at medical treatment, therapy, rehabilitation, and training that are available to help you prove your ability to earn a living. Find out more about how ACE considers your medical situation in your guide to ACE, which I've included in your handout. So some of the financial criteria as ACE looks at the income and assets you and your spouse or your partner have collectively. You can work and be eligible for ACE. Clients are encouraged to work to the extent that they're able. When you apply for ACE or get ACE, you and your spouse or partner must apply for all other income you may be eligible for, such as Canada Pension Plan, disability, employment insurance, or workers' compensation benefits. Not have income or assets that are higher than the program allows. And that is all going to be in your handouts that you get. ACE typically considers income reported on your income tax for you and your spouse or partner's income tax forms. ACE does not consider a dependent child's income. How ACE treats income depends on the type of income, whether you are single or in a family with a spouse or a partner or dependent children, and who receives the income. Some income is exempt, which means it is not counted and it does not affect your monthly living allowance through ACE. It includes things like cash gifts, income tax refunds, registered disability savings plan, which we're going to go through, retirement savings plans. Some income is not exempt, and it means it is counted to full value and subtracted dollar for dollar from your ACE monthly living allowance. Some income is partially exempt, which means It is counted at part of its value and may affect your monthly living allowance. So it's really important to go through the links that I've sent to see if you qualify and what types of things they're looking for and what is exempt and what's not. These are examples of non-exempt and partially exempt incomes. Employment income, such as wages paid by an employer, a training allowance, or severance pay. Self-employment income, such as business, farming, or professional income. Passive business income, such as interest, dividends, capital gains, trust, or rental income. Pension income, such as Canada Pension Plan, disability, employment insurance, or workers' compensation benefits. Before exemptions are applied, allowable income deductions are applied, such as Canada Revenue Agency employment deductions like CPP and EI. Assets are items of value like cash, so investments, property, and vehicles that you or your spouse have. Some assets are exempt, which means they're not counted in things like a home or the quarter section you live in, vehicle, a second vehicle adapted for a disability, clothing, reasonable household items, registered disability savings plans, and a trust. Oh, and non-exempt assets, as we know, are check cashing savings accounts, tax-free savings accounts, registered retirement savings plans, cash inheritances, a recreational property or home, and recreational vehicles. All of these lists are going to be in your handouts, and I would encourage you to take a look at them. All of these will be the criteria for you to applying for AISH. And if you have a child that won't qualify for PDD, AISH could be something that you could take a look at for them. Okay, so that would be through when they're 16, 17, you could do that transition period. So PDD, persons with developmental disabilities. To be eligible for the PDD program, you must be at 16 years or older to apply. And then it's 18 when they start. Live in Alberta and receive PDD services here, be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. You must also have a developmental disability from before you were 18 years old. Depending on your situation, PDD may ask if you have an assessment from your school or doctor or specialist confirming your developmental disability. If you do not have one, PDD may ask a psychologist to do an assessment based on the developmental disability guidelines. So when Victoria mentioned to have all your paperwork, it would be for this. It would be for anything really, but this would be it. To be eligible for the PDD program, the assessment needs to show the disability makes it hard for you to do, makes it hard for you to learn and understand things due to an IQ of 70 or lower. Sometimes people want to jump ahead of the game and get their IQ assessment before their child is 16. Don't do that. And I say that because every year it changes and every year is a different challenge. So in their 16th year or in their 17th year, get it done. Don't do it before. And it also makes you hard to do 6 or more of these 24 living daily skills without help from another person. I've listed them for you, but I'll go through a few. Reading, writing, bathing, showering, using the bathroom, dressing, preparing or storing food, eating, taking your medication, housekeeping. There's a whole list that I've included in this. Moving about safely in your home, obeying laws. So I've made a detailed list for you in your handouts. So there's a quick summary on Fscd, a quick summary on AISH, and a quick summary on PDD. But what that shows you is there's plans and there are services available from diagnosis to getting services as an adult. So I want to know, do you know about disability tax credit? Thumbs up if you do. Is there a thumbs down thing? Thumbs up.
We do have, I see 1 thumbs up, 2 thumbs up, 3, 4 thumbs up.
All right. I have little X's. So I'm going to, okay, and did we see a thumb down?
Okay, there we go.
Disability tax credit can change your life. No, but here's what it is if you have a diagnosis and you qualify for disability tax credit, and all your links are going to be in the handout, it could mean additional funding for you or your child. Disability tax credit was new to me because even my own physician forgot to tell me about it. Not my physician, sorry, his pediatrician. And at no fault of his own. It's just that there's so much things to cover that I heard it from somebody. I think I heard it from another parent in my village. And I asked about it, and he said, oh yeah, he qualifies for it. It costs $75 to get that form filled out. But 2 tips I learned. This, once you get approved, and if you always get denied, can I remind you to please appeal it? Make sure you have all your information together, but it's okay to appeal things. But once he was approved, I couldn't believe the amount of money that we got back. We now have a support dog for my son. Who needs support? My support dog needs Prozac, I think. But that dog helps my son significantly. And it helped us with extracurricular activities that we can do in groups. Swimming lessons, private swimming lessons. It also helped us be able to create a sensory room for my son. And that's important for children that are autistic. It's important for anybody. I wish I had a big room full of pillows, but he has a little room full of pillows and yells at me if I end up in it. There's also, who knows about the Canadian Caregiver credit? Thumbs up. Okay.
Oh,
Canadian.
Oh yeah, we got a few hands up. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. So the Canadian Caregiver credit, you do not need to have the disability tax credit for this. So if you do not qualify for the disability tax credit, but you are caring for a loved one with a disability, you can apply it to your taxes. So you must be a caregiver to somebody with a disability. They may ask you to provide information, but you can claim on the average of $2,273 on your taxes. Again, with this one, if you've been a caregiver for 7 years, go back on your taxes 7 years and do that line adjustment. And you'll see it in your notes that you're going to get after this. And if you can't figure it out, our team working together is going to help you figure it out. And then the next one, who knows about the Registered Disability Savings Plan? Victoria, I know your thumb's going to go up, but everybody else? Okay. When you get your disability tax credit, you apply for the Registered Disability Savings Plan. It's a savings plan that's intended to help parents and others save for the long-term financial security of a person who is eligible for the disability tax credit. The Registered Disability Savings Plan is a Canada-wide registered matched savings plan for people with disabilities. For every dollar you put into the RDSP account, the federal government will match it. Sometimes, if your family's income is below $95,000, I don't know anybody on here who's making $95,000. If you are, we need to talk after, but I'm just kidding. But they'll match it up to 3. This is the Canada Disability Savings Grant. So here's an example, and I did this to test it. I heard about it. I knew a lady who's worked with our community before and who's out there and gets it and is sensitive to our issues with the government, or if we don't have any, that's fine. But she's amazing. So we did it, and I thought, I'm not going to put any money into it because I want to see what comes back with the federal government. My son got $1,400 in that account. So now we're adding to it, obviously, because the government matches it dollar for dollar. But it's $1,400 for not putting in anything. And every year they'll add a little bit. So you know what? I'm doing that because he's going to need it. He's gonna need it. So now you learned three new things today. So do you have any questions? I have an amazing team, and you guys have an amazing team at the MNA. You have an amazing team with Children and Family Services Department. Erin's gonna be your contact, or Kate, I think. And I have an amazing team that I work with at Gateway. So we have a family support team. There's Yonique, there's Betty, and they will help you with all of the questions that I can't help you with. They've been doing this a really long time. But you know what? My dad's from the Canuso slave area. My mom's Gitxan. I've worked at the MNA, and I know the passion and the care, and I can promise you, everybody you're seeing on this page right now has the same passion and care for your families. It's a hard process. It's not easy. But you know what? You can get through it, and I know that we can help you with that. So now we get to open up for questions. I can't believe I made it on time. Kate and Aaron, you guys should be really impressed.
That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just going to go up to some of the ones in the chat just quick. There was just a few before we headed into part 2. But we had a question saying, what do you do if your child had a teacher's assistant last year and due to funding cuts, they don't have one this year? However, the child is struggling academically because of the school cutting the aid. They are on Fscd as well.
Okay, so the most important thing is to find out if your child is coded, and you have to ask the school if they are. Then you demand to have support for your son or for your child. So if there is coding and they're getting funding for your child, they should be providing you with an EA. And I'm going to tell you that I wasn't getting what I wanted at one school, and I changed schools. You know, sometimes we think routine is really important, but routine is useless if they're not getting anything out of it, right? So advocate. I know one parent who's changed 5 schools. At first I thought she was like really demanding, but you know what? She was demanding for the right reasons. And now her child is like doing amazing. But if it's not working for you, you have the right to change schools, but you also have the right to approach them to ask them why. And if you're not happy with the response, you go above that. And if you still are not happy with the response, then go to somewhere that wants your child. Go somewhere that says, we're ready to have them. And we have this amazing team that's going to do that. And this is what we do, and this is how we communicate, and this is our culture, because that's important. So I hope that helps a little bit. But I wish FSCD would work with our school systems. I think it would make things so much easier, because we could keep the same aids and we could keep the same everything going forward through their grade school. But unfortunately, that's not the circumstances right now. I don't know that it ever will be, but I promise you, use your voice. Use that strong voice that you have. And if you're not happy, make a change.
Thank you, Katie. We had another one from earlier. If we haven't started our binder for our child yet, how do we go back when we are not sure when we have been? We have been to a lot of doctors and have a lot of disabilities. Darren, if I haven't said that correctly, raise your hand and we can unmute you if you need us to clarify. How do you go back when we're not sure when we have been? Do you mean, I'm just not sure exactly what you were asking in that piece.
Darren, if you want to unmute, we can have a conversation about that.
We'll just give him a moment.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi. So basically what's happened is that I have this little guy that is in care, and he's got some significant needs, cerebral palsy being one of them. He's had 2 strokes, drugs and alcohol. And so we have been to many different specialists. I don't know who we've all been to.
Okay,
and
that's
so
fine. Start today.
How do you back up? Yeah.
Start today.
Okay.
Start today with what you know and what you have right now. Did you know about the Cerebral Palsy Society?
No.
Okay. It's going to be in your agency list that you're going to get. Cerebral Palsy Society has amazing programs, and there's amazing individuals that work there. And there's, I think they have funding for things like shoes and supports and different things. So connect with them. I think it's Kim. That's there. But a wealth of knowledge and a incredible family support for those specifics with specific diagnosis like cerebral palsy.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, but start today. You know what? And if you, because there's, going backwards is really, really hard. Everybody tells us don't look in the rearview mirror. Unfortunately for the disability sector, sometimes we have to. But whatever you have right now, stick it in there and go forward.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
And we did have one from Leah. Did you want to, if it's Leah, if I'm pronouncing that right, if you wanted to unmute with your comment about waiting for the diagnosis in order to get some of these things. You also noted the Glenrose wait. Did you want to be unmuted to ask the question? Oh, here she is.
It's already done. Yes.
Yeah.
I have a little dude who now they would call him autistic, but if specifically, wow, I can't talk tonight.
That's okay, I can't either.
Yeah, has Asperger's.
Yeah.
So he's on the really high side of the spectrum. He's, grade 2 and reading at a grade 6, like those sort of things. Yeah. When you see numbers, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the school will not code him because he's so advanced. So they said, talk to your pediatrician and then wait for the Glenrose. Okay, paperwork's done. The Glenrose has approved him for an assessment, but of course they said 12 to 18 months. So is there anything we should do kind of while we're waiting? Because I mean, I don't want to say, is it bad for me to even say that I don't want to take an EA's time because I want to make sure it's going to the students who need it more? Like, I don't even.
No, take that time. Take that time. Because it's hard when our kids have invisible disabilities. Okay, I get it. I have a whole, I don't want to say a whole family, but we have 4 boys in our family that have autism or a form of. And I'm going to tell you that whether it's high spectrum or low spectrum, it's autism. Okay. Asperger's is the same thing. How old is he again?
He's 8.
He's 8.
Yeah.
Get what you can right now. And
so
have
what?
You called the Glenrose to ask to be put on a cancellation list?
Okay.
Have you done that?
No.
Do it. Do it tomorrow.
Okay.
And then have you looked at the Children's Autism Center? Are you in Edmonton?
No, I'm in Bonnyville.
Okay, cool. So there are different people that can do the assessment, but they might charge you out of pocket for it.
Okay.
So there are a ton of agency lists on there. There's like 5 different autism ones, I think. It's hard for me because I always want to go into something. I stayed away from diagnosis specific things because we have complexities in ours. So I wanted to go with somebody that's like well-rounded, right? And can take from little areas. So I would suggest that you call them and you ask to go on a cancellation list and call them every month until they say, quit calling me, but call them every month because I get it.
And
so
if we
sorry.
Oh. If we don't have coding or we don't have a diagnostic yet, can we do anything with like the taxes or any of that stuff, or we wait until and then we backdate?
So right now you can do the Canadian Caregiver credit.
Okay.
You can do that right now because your doctor, everybody knows that there's something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you are a caregiver right now. So absolutely use it. As soon as you get that diagnosis, apply for the disability tax credit. Your doctor has to fill out a part of that form, but I've included it in your handouts. So all you gotta do is print it out, You fill out all and be detailed and be hard on, be real with the situation. Because I did that psychoed assessment and I was being kind because I love my son and I think he's amazing and I was whatever. And then but I thought I was being hard on him a little bit. But then I saw, so there was mine that was going like this. And then there was the teachers that was down here like this. And I was like, yeah. So be honest. Be honest about it. And be honest about how hard it is.
Okay.
Be honest about what your day looks like. What your fears are. And I went even as far as to take that assessment and I attached it to it. You know, because I thought to myself, I'm like, what are they going to do with it? If they deny me because they didn't have it, I'd be upset because it takes 3 months on the average, right? If they had it with them, there's nothing, they're not going to, are they going to judge him? He gets judged every day, even when we walk through a grocery store, because he's, you know, we were at Superstore today and he was hiding in a bunch of clothes and with his little head popped up over the top going, I'm in here. No, we were at Mark's Work Warehouse. But, you know, and so it doesn't matter to me what they're looking at. What matters to me is he gets the funding that he's entitled to. Okay?
Okay.
So you go for it.
Thanks.
All right. Any more questions?
Yeah, we do. We have a couple in the queue here. How do you apply for RDSP?
The RDSP. So I would suggest.
Oops, I think I just muted Katie again for the
Yeah,
second
it's
time.
okay.
My apologies.
I'm just gonna play some jig music in the background and then you guys can start when I see you look at dancing. Then I'm gonna know you're doing it.
Yes.
But so if you have a financial institution that you work for, you can go straight to them. I went with a broker that I chose specifically because she does this because she has a son with a disability. And I didn't get charged for anything. And she walked me through that process. And she, as soon as she learned that I had a child with a disability, she was like, you need this. And I said, yeah. And she goes, no, you need this. And then, did you apply for this? Yeah. Okay, we need to meet. Why? She goes, this isn't about you. This is about your son. And when I thought, oh yeah, you're the winner. You're the one that's going to help my son. And I thought this was amazing. So I chose her. But if you have somebody that you trust that can go through that RDSP with you, and that you know is going to advocate for your child, use them. You can go to your bank and do it. If you want my lady, I'll send her to you. I'll give you that information. I haven't included it, but ask for it. Ask the team for it, and I can do that. Her name is Lynn Sutton, but she's a force to be reckoned with because she is an adult child with a disability, and she was terrified of what was going to happen. And she reminded me that, hey, this isn't about me. This is about him. And that's, I thought, was so important. Anybody's going to go after your business for something, but when it comes to that, you want somebody who's going after it for the right reasons. So that's why I chose her. But I'm sure, as I go back, I'm sure we have people within the organization. I used to work in Métis Rights and Accommodation. And so we used to have this trade show, this business trade show. And I am sure that we can pull somebody who's Métis, if that's something specific that you want to work with, who has the same passion. I think Lynn is First Nations. I can't remember. But I know it was important to me to have somebody that understood the cultural barriers and the understanding, and she did. I can't even remember. It's been so long because I've talked to her for a while. But I know that in our contractor database specifically, or if that's still going, we will have somebody in there that can also help. So we can pull from that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. We do have just a couple more here. Are there any funding options to receive the private diagnosis for families that need the diagnosis, but the wait list for the Glenrose is so long?
No. I wish there were. I wish there were. The disability sector is one of the most underfunded sectors that we know, aside from being First Nations or Métis, right? Like it is underfunded. And, you know, we were, Fscd a couple of months ago sent out a survey. And I had some questions about it because I didn't understand, and it made us feel like we were having to give up services. But we were assured that there wouldn't be any changes to it. What I wish, though, was that there was more access for our families to get these assessments done. Some families are paying up to $2,500 for these assessments. And it's sad. And it's hard. And then we have people who are forming Facebook groups and filling them out for you when you can do that part yourself, but charging you. So ask your community, reach out and talk to people. And if you know people that have done it, I mean, I think it was, I'm trying to look at the names here, Darren's iPad. I didn't get your name, but you know, you got yours for $1,200. Share that information with the families if you want as to who did it for you, because it could save them $1,300. You don't have to do it, but I'm just saying, like, that's important information, and that would be really helpful for them if you wanted to share that. So yeah, I wish it was funded. I wish we had an organization that we could go to say, we don't have this type of money to get these assessments, but unfortunately, you can't. And if you go through the Meyer Center for the Children's Autism Services, which is fantastic, but they do charge you for that assessment as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Just a clarification, someone didn't catch the cerebral palsy community, or is it the foundation? They missed the last word.
It is going to be in your handout. So it is, let me actually have the book printed here somewhere. And you're going to get a booklet, and you're going to get a ton of agencies and supports through there. And I just moved, so my desk is really small. Okay, in the handout, cerebral palsy. I can't turn off my computer. Wait a minute, maybe I can. I'm gonna shut this down. So I sent it to them.
Is it the Cerebral Palsy Association?
It's probably, yeah. So it'll be on page,
I think it might be
2.
Or
It'll be a Cerebral Palsy Association in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And then they'll have different areas. So it's cpalberta.com. But lucky you get your agencies in Alberta list, and you can just click on it. There's also a phone number and the name of the agency. So I'm going to tell you, if you have a specific diagnosis, we have specific diagnosis agencies that are in there. But again, you can reach out to a family resource center like ours that can connect you to them.
Awesome. And I think Victoria had a question. I'm not sure. I'm just changing around my computer a bit. I don't know if Kate, you can unmute her.
Yep.
Thank you.
Victoria, you should be unmuted there.
Yeah, it was more, well, yeah, yes, it is a question. Will you be talking about different aspects of PDD? I'm currently under family managed with PDD, and I didn't know if that's something maybe if you knew about, or if there's other parents that are looking maybe with an adult child that are looking for different services. Because what I found with my child, and like you said, you know, not only do we have disability, but we have, you know, our race as well. And my daughter is very dark. And what I found trying to access services when she became 18 was that I just felt that we were discriminated against. And I So I ended up going to family managed, so I'm not going through an agency. And so I actually bought a home for my daughter and her partner, who also has a developmental disability, and the caregiver. And so I bought that for them because I couldn't find an agency that was suitable for her. And I get paid through PDD, and I'm the family or the financial administrator for that. So there are options if you're not finding what you need with all the agencies that are available. You can look into family managed.
Yes, so Victoria, we touch base on that on number 2, the workshop number 2, that's going to be next. And we don't dive into it because as a family resource center, we walk families through the family magics. We're doing overviews right now. So, but we do touch base on that. And I would encourage everybody who's going through that. Gateway, actually, Victoria, just so you know, Gateway is when PDD, when you get that approval, your contract, you have to take, I think it's 4 courses. And we actually put them on through Gateway. And so people come to Gateway to do like abuse and prevention and all of those different courses that are required. So for family managed. And yeah, so we talk about that in workshop 2.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
All right.
And we have a question coming from Elle. If you want to be muted to ask your question here for clarification, please, we'll unmute you to do that. Just give Elle a moment. I'm not sure what your name is, but you are showing up as Elle. There we go.
Hi. I just put a question in the chat. You want me to say the question?
Yeah, if you mind, just for clarification on my end. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I was just curious as to whether there's data and or information specific to Métis in Alberta with who are identified as having a disability in either the K-12 school system or as adults, was the first part of the question. The second part of the question was in regards to funding. I'm wondering in regards to learning disabilities, etc., whether there is any funding available, or was there any funding allocated through the Indian residential school settlement and or federal day school settlements? 2 questions, I guess. Just thought I'd throw them out there.
Erin, do you want to take the first part, or do you want me to talk about what's there for Métis students in K-12?
Sure, I will. Yeah, so in response to your first question, I'm not 100% sure if there is data specific to Métis people in Alberta in the school system K-12. But I mean, I'm sure there is. It's just we don't have that right now, just simply because that's probably not something we've asked for, and I'm not sure, that's not something due to the fact that we haven't asked for that specific information. I'm not even sure if the school shares that, if the system shares that information, but it's definitely something I'm taking note of. So
okay.
Yeah.
So I can help with you then. I thought you guys had that. So the public school systems has the FNMI. So that's the First Nations Métis and Inuit program. And they actually do track whether you're First Nations Métis or Inuit. And there is special funding through that system. So for the first time ever, I disclosed my son. And it was interesting to me because I didn't understand, but they get additional funding for that. So right now, the schools get to determine how that funding is, but if a school is getting funding for your children based on race and based on disability, you use your voice to ensure that that's being used to assist them and help them grow. So that's for the first question. And that's just in the public school board. I know that the Catholic school board tracks it too, but I don't have the information on school aspects because we take care of the family. And as you saw, like home, school, we're separate, but we want to try to bridge that system for you. In addition to the acts that were placed for that, you know, I only know a little bit of it because of my family and loved ones that had gone through that system, the day program and the residential school system. I do know that, from my understanding, a portion goes to, in some cases, the band or the settlements or whichever, and then you get your portion. You can use that portion to get additional supports for learning disabilities and such. Is there any allocations for that at this point right now? Not from my understanding, but I do know that this is when we get to come together and say, there's a need, there's a defined need for learning disabilities, and there's a defined need for disability support within our nation, possibly. And I know that Erin and Kate and that entire team with Children and Family Services is working on that, and there's an intake worker, and we work with them. So there are supports out there, and it's just a matter, is it specifically Métis? No, not right now. But there are people that want to help you through that process. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, and my email has been shared here on the screen, and I didn't catch your full name, but if you wanted to follow up with an email, I'd definitely be interested in following up on that with you. And we have a couple more questions, 2 more. So if you don't mind, I know we are 8:34. Are you okay?
Hey, I'm good.
Okay.
All right. You guys are good. Let's hash it out.
Yeah, well, if we have a few more, we might as well answer them. So does your FSCD worker assist in finding you a respite worker or community aid worker? Or is it all on families now? And that's coming from Grand Prairie.
So there are agency supports through Respite and community aid support. You can use an agency, and FSCD will provide you with an agency list where you can do that. I hire privately. And I share my psycho-ed assessment with them, and I share a little bit of who my son is with them. And you know what? FSCD has a process where you can go online and you can access online, putting in your hours. It's really simple to do. Sometimes I get frustrated and I get overwhelmed, but you know what? I can do it. And it's really, really simple. And you just choose the day. I do it at the end of the month, every month. And I choose whether it's respite or community support or the 24-hour care. And within 10 days, I get reimbursed. I hope that helps. Oh, the other thing I'm going to mention, there are amazing Facebook groups, and I've included some of them, I think, on the handouts. But if you are on Facebook, there's a respite, which I didn't include. If you wanted to, if you can give me your information, I can send you a list of Facebook groups where people talk about respite and care all over Alberta. Some of us even share our respite workers with people that we know are desperately looking, and our respite worker might be a great fit. The hard thing is losing a great respite worker. But we make sure that we get a handsome, they get paid well, and we try to get them as many hours as we possibly can that's allocated in our contract. So I hope that helps.
And Katie, on that note, if you want to send me the Facebook groups, I can always send those out in the email to everyone too.
There it is. Charlene put it in there. Families Looking for Respite. That's the Facebook group.
Awesome. Okay, well, we have one last question before we close. My understanding, okay, yes, it is a question. My understanding is that an FSCD behavioral developmental contract, 6 months, 10 hours of service a week, does not require a diagnosis, but rather an assessment completed by a clinician, so a psychologist, speech language pathologist, or an occupational therapist, identifying significant delay in one area. Has this changed at all?
At this point, I am not sure. I would suggest, because FSCD is constantly changing, like there used to be a sliding scale of what they offer and what they don't, and they used to have this. So I have developmental support for my son, but I can't tell you the specific guidance of FSCD. That would be, there's a bunch of links that are given to you for that, and there's requirements for that. So we do have a behavioral developmental report and progress happening, but I can't give you the answer for that. But if we recorded that, we can take a look for that. Erin, can you write that question down and then copy it or whatever and send it to my email and we can find out?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have that for follow-up. Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, thank you for all the questions. Unfortunately, we are at the end of our session.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
Like today, can you give me a thumbs up if this was really great information for you? Because I like those.
Yeah, yeah, really great. Already seeing some, many thumbs up coming up on the screens here.
Awesome.
Thank you, Katie, for taking the time to share your knowledge with us and answer these questions. My apologies for not speaking your title correctly. So community development. I missed that piece. I didn't have it on my script enough, so I'm sorry about that.
Sure, don't even apologize. Like, but I don't have a title today. Right now, what I have is common ground with a lot of people here, disability. Yeah. I'm a mom.
It was truly, it was wonderful hearing you speak about, like, yes, you know, professionally you have a lot of experience, but just hearing you know, how you talk about your family and you know, with your son, it's really engaging and great. So thank you for sharing all that. If anybody else here has any additional questions about anything that we discussed today, please feel free to email me at enorthy@metis.org. So it's up on the screen. We are also following up with an email shortly with some additional resources that Katie was speaking to in the presentation, and a brief evaluation form. So we would really like you to take the time to fill out that form. Kate has also just posted a link in the chat now, and we will be sending that in a follow-up. It's really important that we get people to fill that out so that we can properly plan and provide community with topics that are meaningful and that you're looking for. And so we don't always know, you know, if we're doing it right. So we want some feedback on that for our future events. So that would be great. And don't forget to register for the other workshops in this series. So our next one is on June 2nd, and we will cover the topic of understanding disability in your community with Katie as well. And then our last one is June 16th. So, and we will be covering understanding disability in your home. So we would love to have you join us for these as well.
I would love to have
you. Thank you, everyone. I'm not sure why I have all this paint. Something's going on my screen. It looks like I have
I did it. No, I'm just kidding. I did it.
Painting on my screen.
I'm kidding. I want to thank you guys so much. And by filling out that evaluation, it also lets me show my boss that I'm actually doing a good job. No, I'm kidding. But, well, no, I'm not. But thank you. And I really hope that at the end of the day, you know that there's a plan and that you know that there's support for you and your family through this really, really tough time. So,
Katie, you are getting all such amazing comments, warm fuzzies here. Everyone is just thanking you and appreciating your knowledge.
I'm having a coffee at 8:39 p.m. and I'm pumped. You guys have been amazing. These were amazing questions. And please If you're struggling, ask.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to ask and how many times I've forgotten something and how many times I've had to ask it again. I need help even where I'm at. I need support. And we are an amazing community, and this is an amazing community here. So reach out and ask and challenge things and make decisions and know that there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel, at least something. So you're not alone.
Yeah. And if you contact me even, and if I can't, if I don't have an answer or anything for you, I can connect you and try to connect you. So, you know, I can be of a resource as well. So yeah, I appreciate everyone here. And I hope every single person comes back on June 2nd for our next workshop in the series. So I hope everybody has a good night. We are going to end now, and thank you all so much. And thank you, Katie.
Oh, thank you guys for the opportunity. And next time I told them that we should add some jigging music. So that would be really cool.
Yeah, we will do that. We will. There you go. Already something to make it better.
Yay! No, I'm kidding.
All right,
you guys
everyone.
all
Take care for now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.